As you opened your eyes this morning, I'm sure that many of you are wondering, will 2025 be a different year than the last year? Is it possible that we can have an improved year in the coming 365 days? Did we just turn a page of a calendar? Or is it really possible to turn a page of history, to open an era of peace and development for all mankind? After decades of war and human misery, of lying and corruption for the benefit of a few. In the transatlantic region, that means, can we finally find the courage and the strength to defeat the corporate oligarchy and their permanent bureaucracy, the so-called deep state, and restore a just constitutional order? I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche organization with promising news. If enough of you are willing to join us, we can make 2025 a Jubilee year. Now, the idea of a Jubilee is a time when slaves are emancipated and debts are forgiven. Pope Francis called in his Christmas message for making 2025 a Jubilee year, a Jubilee of hope. Whether or not you're a Catholic doesn't matter. This is a noble and inspirational goal. And there's a link in the description section to the Schiller Institute statement on the why this year should be and must be a Jubilee year. Now, also of note as we enter the new year are some additional initiatives that we're taking. First, this week's webcast will be with Helga Zepp-LaRouche and Ray McGovern, and they'll be discussing the strategic situation as well as these initiatives. And I'm sure you won't want to miss it. Helga, through the International Peace Coalition and through her work with the Schiller Institute, has been at the forefront of bringing us to a new security and development order. And Ray McGovern has a long history as a peace activist and working with the Schiller Institute to do that. So the dialogue will be covering these three initiatives. First, the Jubilee Year. Secondly, the mobilization of the Doctors Against Genocide and their plans to lobby the Congress to cut off aid to Israel so the United States will stop being complicit in the genocide against the Palestinian people. And then the third initiative is to make sure that Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel are confirmed. Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence, Kash Patel as FBI Director. This is not an issue of personalities. It doesn't matter whether you like them or not. They have a commitment to overturning the policies of the last 50 years of corruption in these agencies, of Patel stopping the FBI from being a criminal operation to control politics, and Gabbard to expose the corruption in the intelligence community and to make sure we do not get into new wars. One of the ways to do that would be to exonerate Lyndon LaRouche, to reopen the LaRouche case, to show the pattern of corruption and duplicity in the FBI and the intelligence community in targeting the statesman and economist Lyndon LaRouche. And by doing this, we can help make sure that this time President-elect Trump will be able to fulfill his promise to put an end to wars and to drain the swamp. This is an urgent necessity because the so-called swamp, or the permanent bureaucracy, has been involved in lying, corruption, running coups under the idea of color revolutions and regime change, so supposedly promoting democracy while interfering in every single country's election where there's a country that's moving away from being submissive to the unipolar order. So all of these things are possible. A Jubilee year, putting an end to genocide, and cleaning up the corruption in the transatlantic region. And in particular, that means exposing the degree to which the City of London and the British oligarchy controls the U.S. intelligence community and directs NATO and the U.S. in wars against Russia, against China, against Iran, against North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela. The target list just keeps growing. And the reason it's growing is because more and more of nations of the global south are moving toward this new paradigm, what Helga Zepp-LaRouche has called the development of a new security and development architecture. So you'll want to join us in this movement, and we can start that with the webcast today with Helga and Ray McGovern. The link to that will be in the description box. Secondly, Saturday at 2 p.m., we'll have a special roundtable discussion about the corruption of the intelligence community, which will feature Diane Sayre, Dennis Speed, and myself, and probably a few other guests, to engage in a full discussion of, in particular, the dirty role of Zbigniew Brzezinski as an operative for the global oligarchy in the long-term campaign to destroy Russia. This goes back long before Brzezinski, as many of you know, but it's an urgent question. Can we root out the corruption and the war hawk neocon mentality that's dominated U.S. and Western policy, at least since the death of President Kennedy? So if you want to be a part of making 2025 a new beginning toward restoring justice and peace, you can join the Schiller Institute. You can subscribe to the Executive Intelligence Review Daily News, which will give you the reports, the intelligence from the inside of what's actually going on in the world. So let's make this a good year for humanity. Join with us. Let's make sure that we can put an end to the corruption, murder, and destabilization of nations, so that we can live as a human species committed to the real tasks that are in front of us, which is to make sure that we have a better future for our children and grandchildren through discoveries of science, through classical culture, and through a commitment to the idea that man is essentially good and that evil comes from a lack of development. So the idea of development is key. So join us, and thank you for listening today, and Happy New Year to all.